Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It is your girl, Molinda Jae, and I'm here to talk about Jack Daniels, the world-renowned whiskey brand, is dogging it out in court, Supreme Court to be exact, with a dog toy company in regards to a parody product that they had released. So let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? Okay, first things first, we're going to start with this article here. And I'm just going to go off video for a minute. And this is coming from the Soapbox. And it reads, will the Supreme Court let Jack Daniels go to the dogs? The higher court's most unusual case of the current term will determine if our trademark laws are all bark and no bite. So as of Wednesday, oral arguments at the Supreme Court had it all. Dog toys, Jack Daniels whiskey, the 1978 pornographic, because, YouTube guidelines for Pete's sake, film, Debbie Does Dallas, the First Amendment, and more. Despite its eclectic array of, let's just say, unusual subject matter, how the justices decide this thorny matter could have interesting implications at the intersection of free speech protections and trademark laws. The case Jack Daniels Properties Incorporated versus VIP Products LLC is ostensibly, about dog toys manufactured by the later company that parody a variety of alcoholic spirits, including the plaintiff's iconic spirit, the Bad Spaniels. Toy strongly resembles a Jack Daniels whiskey bottle, but with scatological references. Instead of old number 7, it says old number 2, and the Tennessee Sour Mash whiskey label is changed to on your Tennessee carpet. Humor, I'll remind you, it's subjective. Jack Daniels sued the toy maker for violating its trademark in federal court, arguing that it had violated the Lanham Act, the nation's central federal trademark law. The Lanham Act protects registered trademarks from dilution, infringement, and other violations, all of which the distillery attributed to the toy maker. VIP Products countered that its products were protected by the First Amendment since they were a parody of Jack Daniels' well-known product and not intended or marketed as an actual competitor to them. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals rejected Jack Daniels' claim by relying on what is known as Rogers' test, a trademark infringement test that typically used for expressive creative works, and concluded that the Bad Spaniel toy's humorous and parodic message made it eligible for heightened protection from Lanham Act claims under the First Amendment. The distillery appealed that ruling to the Supreme Court and argued that it had unfairly deviated from the Lanham Act usual likelihood of confusion test. Under Rogers, an expressive work, it is allowed to confuse as long as the use of a mark is artistically relevant and not explicitly misleading. Lisa Blake, who argued before the court for Jack Daniels, told the justices, but the Lanham Act has no exceptions for expressive works. It barks using marks for any goods when likely to cause confusion as the origin, sponsorship, or approval. Artistic relevance has nothing to do with confusion, and both implicit and explicit uses can confuse. Benedict Copper, who argued on behalf of VIP Products, defended the Rogers test as the proper balance act between trademark protections and First Amendment protections. The circus developed the Rogers test to protest expressive works generally. He told the justices, and it keeps the threat of extended litigation from silencing speech. That's particularly true when well-heeled celebrities go after parodies. Justice Samuel Alito told Blake that he was concerned about her dismissal of Rogers on the First Amendment grounds and said her exchange with Sotomayor suggests that there were serious constitutional issues with her position. Blake tried to defend her argument by noting that trademarks protect a property right. Well, allow me to push back with the founding, she explained. Trademarks have been around since the 1500s. They predate the First Amendment. The justices were also skeptical of the VIP products argument. Well, what is there to it? What is the parody here? Kanan asked. The parody? Cooper replied, yeah, because maybe I just have no sense of humor. But what's the parody? Keegan repeated to chuckles from others in the court. Cooper responded that toys make fun of companies that take themselves too seriously. Well, I mean, you say that, but you make fun of a lot of marks. Doggy Walker, Dos Perros, Smella or Paul, Cane Cola or Canine Cola, Mountain Drool. Are all these companies taking themselves too seriously? Kangan asked. I think there are a lot of products that take themselves too seriously, Cooper claimed. You don't see, for example, something near and dear to my heart, a parody of Woodfork Reserve bourbon, because you don't get that buildup of an edifice of making them into a cultural icon and reference point. Blake, for her part, Blatt, for her part, noted that not all self-proclaimed parodies are so mild or well-intentioned. She pointed to Debbie Does Dallas, which was the subject of Lanham Act case brought by the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders when it was released. The other side wants to talk about the uses they like, she told the justices, referring to VIP products. They do not want to talk about the pornographic and the poisonous things that could be done when you infringe someone's trademark. Justice Clarence Thompson appeared skeptical of the Rogers test viability, questioning Cooper at one point whether he could point to a textual hook in the Lanham Act to the base test upon. He also noted that the test doesn't seem to have its roots in the First Amendment jurisprudence. Cooper conceded that it was originally formulated. It is not the most well-phrased test in terms of artistic relevance, but also pointed out that parodies were an easy case under it because they inherently distinguished themselves from the original material. At the same time, some of the justices expressed reservations about scrapping the Rogers test if the Lanham Act itself would bring First Amendment concerns. I have some hesitation doing away with the Rogers test because without knowing that the likelihood of confusion test is sufficiently flexible itself, Justice Sotomayor told Blatt, these tests have to be used because the statute talks about likelihood of confusion. And what judges have to do is figure out how we decide whether it's confused. So we got to create some principles. Others appear dubious toward the Jack Daniels case on more basic grounds. Could any reasonable person think that Jack Daniels had approved this use of mark? Alito asked Blatt at one point. Absolutely. That's why we won below, she replied. Really? He responded, apparently unconvinced. He offered a hypothetical scenario in which a Jack Daniels employee, not a VIP products employee, had come up with an exact same dog toy idea and pitched it to the distillery's leadership. Do you think the CEO is going to say, that's a great idea, we're going to produce that thing? Alito asked. Blatt responded that companies make ill-advised decisions all the time, pointing to an infamous Super Bowl ad by Nationwide Insurance that featured a lifeless child. Blatt also noted that Alito and other federal judge by extent, wasn't exactly the average American consumer. Justice A, I'm just going to say Justice A, my goodness. I don't know how old you are, but you went to law school. You're very smart. You're analytical. You have hindsight bias, she began. Before A cut her off, well, I went to law school where I didn't learn any law, he replied to a laughter in the room. Okay, was he being sarcastic or was he being for real when he said that? That's what I want to know. But furthermore, down the article, observers are left similarly unlearned about how the case might decide. Two of the court's members, Justice Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Barrett, did not ask any questions during the argument session, and most of the justices who did ask tough questions for both sides. A ruling in favor of Jack Daniels could make it easier for companies to win trademark infringement cases when the target is a parody of its product. A win for VIP products, on the other hand, could strengthen First Amendment protections when it comes to when it comes to parody products. I'm just going to say parody products in the marketplace. At the same time, it will make more difficult for companies to protect their brands from perceived infringement. A final decision is expected by the end of June. Okay, so that's what's happening, and just a little gist of what's going on in the courtroom, as far as like the questions that were asked and the answers that was spoken upon in regards to defending whether Jack Daniels will win on their end when it comes to their trademark of their product. On the flip side, you have a dog toy company that does parody products that produces parody products that resembles established companies. Okay, but before I even add some more of my 2 cents to this, Jack Daniels, girl, y'all still got some recognition to do, and I'm about to show y'all why. Okay, so let me go ahead and exit this out. As the person that assisted your founding father of the company in regards to teaching him about the distillery of producing whiskey. Okay, so this is what it looking like on y'all website. And when y'all go on their website, yes, you have to put your date of birth, but that's just a snapshot. That's all I'm going to show on the website, because I'm gonna bring it right back around to y'all tenfold. Okay, the history of Jack Daniels, the real history of Jack Daniels. And I'm about to read y'all this: how an enslaved man helped Jack Daniels develop his famous whiskey. Okay, so it reads per history.com. Okay, Nathan Nearest Green, who taught Jack Daniel the art of whiskey distillation, went unacknowledged for more than 150 years. And this article was posted last year, May 13th. So let's go ahead and do a full dive reading. Jack Daniels stands as one of the most iconic American brands and most popular spirits in the world. Yet while whiskey and its eponymous founder have become dominant names in American liquor lore, the person perhaps most responsible for this success is an enslaved man named Nathan Nearest Green, who taught Jack Daniel the art of whiskey distillation when went unacknowledged for more than 150 years. Researchers are discovering that the role enslaved people played in America's early whiskey making went beyond manual labor like gathering grain and building barrels. Distillation was notoriously laborious and tedious work, and some plantation owners, including George Washington and Andrew Jackson, used enslaved workers to run their distilleries. According to American spirit writer Fred Minnick, author of Bourbon, The Rise, Fall, and Rebirth, American Whiskey, brokers at auction of enslaved people would notate distiller trained slaves, many of whom previously worked on Caribbean sugarcane plantations and contribute to the distillation of sugar byproduct molasses to create rum. These skill sets earn premiums for their users or their owners and made them attractive to buyers. Overall, however, documentation of enslaved workers' contributions to early American whiskey production remains sparse, as few enslavers saw fit to create their achievements through posterity. Was that supposed to say prosperity? But okay, never mind. An enslaved distiller shares his knowledge with young orphan. Okay, and as you can see here, this is the old office of the Jack Daniels cave on the grounds of Jack Daniels Distillery. Little is known about Green's early years beyond that he was born in Maryland 1820. It's not clear, for instance, if he was born into bondage or enslaved later in life. What is clear is that the mid-1800s, Green had gained renown as the skillful whiskey distiller in Lincoln County, Tennessee, so much that his enslavers, the Landis and Green Company, often rented Green out to area farms and plantations, eager to partake of his whiskey making skills. It was in his capacity that Green met young Jasper Jack Daniel and forged that would become an iconic partnership. Around 1850, Daniel, a 7-year-old orphan looking for work and escaping from a tough family life, found his way to the property of Dan Call, a Lynchburg preacher, grocer, and distiller who had been previously credited with teaching Daniel how to distill whiskey. While working as a laborer on Cal's farm, Daniel took an ardent interest in Cal's distillery. Eventually, after badgering from the young Daniel, Cal introduced him to Green, who he is called the best whiskey maker that I know, according to 1967 biography Jack Daniel's Legacy. He instructed the enslaved man to teach the young boy his distilling magic. Green taught Daniel sugar maple charcoal filtering, known today as Lincoln County process. I'm pretty sure that's patent, but does Green and his family get credit for it? I don't know for sure, but I like to look into that. Continue on with the article. A universally accepted critical step in making of Tennessee whiskey. With this process, whiskey is filtered through wooden charcoal chips before being placed in casks for aging, a technique food historians believe was inspired by a similar charcoal filtering technique used to purify water and foods in West Africa. The process imparted a unique smoothness of flavor that set Jack Daniel's whiskey apart from its competitors. As years passed, Daniels continued to learn from Green, build a friendship with his mentor, and eventually perfecting the Lincoln County process and selling his whiskey throughout Lynchburg and surrounding towns. By the time Civil War began, Daniel had developed into an adept salesman, peddling his smooth brand of Tennessee whiskey to soldiers, cementing his varietal as the most popular in the area. Once the war ended and emancipation came, Daniel bought his Cal distillery, renaming it after himself. Shortly after, Daniel opened a large distillery on a nearby plot of land near Green's son, Louis Eli, and George also began work. Their employment began a tradition of more than 7 generations of Green family working either for or with Jack Daniels brand. And as you can see in this picture, the Jack Daniels company historian is speaking in the old office of a company founder Daniel on the grounds of the Jack Daniels distillery, pointing to the photograph showing Daniels in green in 2018. So why, despite Green's role and Daniel's seeming admiration for him, were contributions obscured? Early company record keeping was notoriously spotty. That is not surprising, making it easy for facts and histories to become obscured and forgotten. I don't think it was an ever conscious decision to leave Greens out of the company's story. Philip Epps, the global brand director at Brown-Forman, told the New York Times in 2016 interview, Brown-Forman bought Jack Daniels from the Daniel family in 1965 for $20 million, about $190 million in 2022 dollars. But it took time before the company made that conscious decision to include Green. That's not surprising either. In 2016, as the brand's 150th anniversary approached, the company began gathering ideas on how to finally pay it forward to Green. It vowed a via distillery tour, social media posts, and official company histories to begin acknowledging Green's role. Fawn Weaver, a researcher businesswoman, visited the Jack Daniels distillery in Tennessee after learning about Green and Jack Daniels' plan to honor him. After going on the 3 distillery tours and not hearing a single mention of Green, Weaver threw herself into researching his life and work, gathering more than 10,000 documents that verified and expanded on Green's importance to the Jack Daniels brand. That's what I'm talking about. Her findings, Green not only taught Daniels how to distill, he also began to work with him in partnership after emancipation and became through designation by Jack Daniels himself. What is believed to be the first ever Black master distiller in America, Weaver also discovered that Green's given enslaved name was Nathan, and that Nearest was a name he likely adopted after emancipation. By 2017, after Weaver's research gained national attention, Jack Daniels' parent company began committing to its earlier promises by recognizing Green as the brand's first master distiller on its company website, giving pride of place to Jack Daniels and the Nearest Green's legacy defining partnership. Okay. And speaking of Miss Fawn Weaver, let me go ahead and show this to you all if you haven't came across it already on your Twitter feed. This is Miss Fawn Weaver herself. Okay. Shouts out to African and Black history. You can catch them on you can follow them on Twitter with the with their username at their social at African Archives. They really just release a whole lot of informative Black or African American stories that is left unsung, unsaid, unheard. So I really enjoyed their content. So it reads, so who taught a young Jack Daniels how to distill and what would become the world's best-selling whiskey? Nathan Dearest Green, an enslaved Black master distiller, taught distilling techniques to Jack Daniel, founder of Jack Daniels Tennessee Whiskey. And as you can see here, I'm gonna just click on here. And thanks to Fawn Weaver learning his history and having great business acumen, we now have at Uncle Near's distillery and their great whiskey. Had the pleasure of being at their groundbreaking 3 years ago, and that was from a Twitter user that actually went to their groundbreaking opening of their distillery. And here's Miss Fawn Weaver herself. Okay, there she is. Congratulations to her, and thank you for all that you do in preserving the actual history and keeping his name alive. And as you can see, here is the Uncle Near's whiskey here. All right, that is 100% Tennessee born and bred, okay, from my understanding. And from what a couple of Twitter users that has already tasted the whiskey, they said it was good. They said it was top notch, okay? And I'm just gonna go ahead and follow them. I'm not a drinker like that, but hey, I don't mind taste testing just for the research purposes and to be more open-minded, okay? All right. So with that being, and before I even put my little 2 cents of it, let me show you the picture. Let me see if he's actually recognizing here. No, he's still not on. Mr. Green is still not on the actual website to this day when you're on the Our Story after you put your birthday in, okay? And that's after you put your birthday in, and you have to be old enough. Otherwise, you will not be able to have access on their website. Let's start from the beginning. All right, the bottles, they look similar, okay? As far as like the structure of the bottle, they're similar. They did get the dent right here, just like on the original bottle. The graphic at the top is different than the graphic at the bottom. I mean, the graphic on the tops are different. The numbers are different, okay? Here, going down on this end, you have the Jack Daniels engravement here, but not at the top of this bottle of the toy. Then, of course, you have the Jack Daniels, and then you got the Bad Spaniels, because keep in mind, this is a dog toy, okay? Spaniels rhymes with Daniels. And then we have the dog here that represents the Spaniels. Okay, Jack Daniels is on the side, all right, of the bottle. There's nothing on the side of their bottle. And then as far as like the whole graphic in itself, yes, there's like a antique-ish frame for each of them, but it's not the same. Still have the number 7 as the original brand, number 2 for the Parody brand. You have old here, but over here you have the old. So that's another difference there. I noticed that they have brand on top, but not over here on their bottle, on the toy. And then down here at the bottom, it says on your Tennessee carpet. And then of course, it says Tennessee Sour Mash Whiskey. And I do have to say that the lettering is different at the bottom. It's a little bit more bold on the toy, and the S's are different in the Tennessee. The S's are different. The whiskey and carpet is different font as well. Okay, the Bad Spaniels and the Jack Daniels, it seems like they're similar in the font, but as far as like the Tennessee, it looks like it's in bold print of the Tennessee on the regular bottle, but still it looks like 2 different fonts to me. And then on the whiskey and carpet, those are 2 different fonts as well, because it looks like it's a shadowy on the pet toy compared to on the bottom. There's no shadow, it's just straight up, you know. And then at the bottom, there's it has 100% smelly, and then I don't know what it says on the side, on the other side of the toy bottle, But over here on the other side, there's nothing at the bottom underneath the frame of the label. But again, like I said, it's a slippery slope. So I'm seeing some comparisons and I'm seeing some differences on the parody bottle compared to the original bottle. Okay. So what I thought about this is that it is a slippery slope at the end of the day, because as you are a brand, you want to protect it. As you are a business owner, you want to protect your brand at all costs. That goes with your company, your assets, your financial, your brick and mortar, if you have a brick and mortar location, your brand, your name, and your images. That you want to keep all that on lock, so that way nobody can steal it from you or try to make a profit out of it. Because if not, if so, then there's going to be a lawsuit on the ends of that. Plus, at the same time, I wonder if, they're both selling physical products, but Jack Daniels is on the liquor side compared to the dog toy. Compared to the dog toys, they're catering to the dogs. Now, it would have been different if, like they mentioned in the article, that a person within the company did approach leadership of Jack Daniels to produce a dog toy product, because of course that'll be more sales for you all, because people love their dogs. They consider them as their as children if they don't have any children, or an extended member of the family. So that would have brought more sales to your brand as well, because now not only the owner is happy of getting your whiskey, but also the dog can enjoy having a toy that is similar to their owner's favorite whiskey brand that they enjoy during their leisure. So at the end of the day, it's this case right here is something to peep game and have your eye out for, because it can set precedents on both sides at the end of the day. And again, I wouldn't even be surprised if they just come down to a happy medium to just have a partnership in doing of Jack Daniels allowing the company that produces the dog toys of the parody of their brand as a payout, as an easy payout. You can do this for only this limited time, like do it for the anniversaries of each year or each milestone year. Do it for each milestone year, or each time y'all are celebrating a big event, to draw people into getting your product, but also taking a souvenir home for their pets, or just a souvenir in itself. But other than that, yeah, this is something to pay attention to, especially if you're planning on becoming a business owner. And these are just things in this cases to look out for, because at the end of the day, it can fall into the company, the corporation hands that's already had their trademark set and filed for the longest to protect their brand and to eliminate confusion, or it can fall in the other brand's hand as they have the right to exercise their freedom of speech and providing a parody product that is that sets a tone, well, not sets a tone, that like the article says, that gives audience to express themselves, or gives the company to express themselves and not take the product seriously. At the end of the day, it's just a testament of time to, sometimes it's good to laugh it off, like haha, but at the end of the day, business is business. And more than ever, you don't want to create confusion over your business that has definitely been in for a long time, been in business for a long time. But yeah, feel free to leave your comments down below in the comment section about what you all think about this case so far. Are you on Jack Daniel's side, or are you on the VIP product side, producing the parody products, dog products to be specific, of these major corporation brands to, get some giggles and laughs and show their expressive side of it all. But yeah, or are you in the middle? Like, because I can see it from both sides. But at the end of the day, business is business. You want to protect your business at all costs and don't want to create no more confusion. But yeah, maybe they should reach a partnership deal. That's what I'm saying. But other than that, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.